I hope you can all hear me. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little bit late, but on my side, as long as I don't have lunch, I consider this is still morning. Thank you for joining us in this closing discussion. My name is Lucie Beaumel. I'm working for the 2.0 partnership, representing the non-commission side. We want to have, hopefully, a lively discussion during the upcoming 45 minutes to keep you awake, to keep you busy before a very well-deserved lunch break. You already all know Professor SAMARAS, who made opening statements, but I think up to now you did not take the floor, Philippe. So, warm welcome to you, Philippe FROISSARD, Head of Unit in DG Research, and I would say overarching most of the co-organizers today, working very closely with the two partnerships, as well as with ERTRAC. Welcome, Philippe. Okay, so I suggest we start with the main takeaways from these 3 days, full days of insights and results from road transport research project. And I suggest we start with you, Philippe. What are your main takeaways?
Thank you, Lucie. Maybe good morning again to everyone. Every time I look at my photo, I
seems that we have a slight issue with Philippe's microphone.
Is it only Philippe's? Yes.
No, yeah.
No. Yeah, I'm cursed. I know it works. Better now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
it should work now.
It works.
Yeah.
Now, I was just going to say that every time I look at my photo in the conferences, I look ever so sad. So don't take it personally. I think one of the things I will do in the foreseeable future is to change my photo. Because otherwise you'll think that I'm a very grumpy bear. I'm not. So as I was saying, when you could not hear me, I'm just going to say good morning again to everyone. I think one of my main takeaway, I have to be careful with that actually. One of my main takeaway is regarding the organization of this conference, and a big thank you to the organizers because you made it a very successful event. 450 registration, many more people connected online. I think it is a success, and it is a success because there is an interest in having so many stakeholders sharing their results, their experience on topics related to road transport, research innovation. I think the success is down to the organizers, but also to the participants, needless to say. And I was really impressed by the dynamic in the sessions that I attended, and mostly in the coffee room, which is beside this hall, because there was a lot of interaction, and that's really one of the reason of having this type of event, to allow people to share experience, to exchange points of view, and that's also why I was very happy to see that newcomers, coordinators of New Horizon Europe projects were also invited and could take part in these sessions, in the sessions that were organized in the RTR conference, because they have to learn a lot from the coordinators of the Horizon 2020 projects. And they have to learn a lot as regard how to be successful and how to avoid failures and problems that others have encountered will necessarily be encountered by the coordinators of Horizon Europe project. So I think a big thank you to the organizers, a big thank you to the participants, because the success of conference is really down to you at the end of the day. And a couple of takeaways that I would take, my colleagues, they were very nice to me. They sent me a little bit and bits and pieces of information on the sessions that they moderated. I'm going to disappoint them very much because I'm not going to go through the whole list of issues that they have raised and brought to my attention. I would just like to identify a few that are based on the outcome of the sessions that took place the last 2 days. The first one concerned the need to take into account and integrate from the start the aspects of regulation, and that's particularly true for all those projects that relate to transport in the urban area. Too often we see during the lifetime of the project that there are issues linked to regulation that hamper the deployment of solutions on the ground. That means that concretely, when you prepare your projects, you have to take that into account from the start, from the onset. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing a lot of time. So that's something that I thought was interesting. I mean, we know about it, obviously, but it was important to see also the project coordinators raise that to our attention so that in the future we try to mitigate these negative impacts as much as possible. The other thing I wanted to raise is the accessibility dimension. And you have to remember that in Europe we have something like more than 80 people with reduced mobility. So we need really to take that into account when we develop new solutions for mobility. And that is something that is really important to take into account the needs of the users, the societal dimension. And I think more and more the projects integrate that in their activities. And when we will have the Horizon Europe coming in and participating in RTR, I think this will be very clear, because this is one of the changes that we have seen between Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. Another aspect which I think is very important is too often we think of research innovation as a way to push technology, to develop new solutions, technological solutions. But at the end of the day, they need to be implemented, they need to be deployed, and you need also there to take into account the needs of the users. And that was very clear from the interactions and the interventions from a number of coordinators, that the societal dimension is something that is paramount for the success of the projects that we are supporting and their future deployment. I think when you look at the projects, what struck me is that we are talking about usually incremental research. Nothing wrong with that, incidentally. We always dream of disruptive innovation and breakthrough, but most of the time we are talking about incremental innovation and results that improve by 5%, one of the aspects of this and this and that. That means concretely you have to look at research projects as a continuum, and research as a continuum. It's not only one project, it's actually a long series of projects that are building on the previous generation of the research activities that have taken place. You need really to take that into account, and I think that's one of the added value of the partnerships, is that they integrate that dimension. We don't look at projects in isolation, but we look at it as a continuum of research that eventually lead to deployment. So I think that's one of the elements which struck me again in the discussion these last couple of days, and I would like to raise to your attention. And apart from that, I think the coffee was very nice.
Thank you, Philippe. This is what your takeaways.
Thank you. I remember from last year, Philippe was actually, with the first question, covering all the questions and going down to the end. Which is very good, I think. Although I would like to go back at the end of on the topic of continuity of research, which is, I think, is very important. But my takeaways will mostly focus on the research topics. And what is really impressive, I would say, is the quality and the extent of research that's being done at European level on batteries. As you know, I am the other type of mechanical engineer, but it is impressive to see how much things have evolved over the last years as regards the chemistries of the batteries, which is a very important topic, the usage, the usability, as well as the excellence at the European level. I heard earlier today that there is lithium in Europe, something that I had no idea that it existed, and that there are immense possibilities actually for Europe as well. So I think that all the topic of batteries is extremely well covered, addressed, and new elements are coming up, including, I shouldn't forget that, recycling of the materials. The other part, which is also of interest, is the fact that, of course, together with the internal combustion engine topics, also topics in emissions and related air quality are sort of completing the tasks and largely arriving to some mostly results that could be used almost immediately at for European regulations. This could include, for example, remote sensing, as it was discussed, anti-tampering activities, topics that are already largely taken up by Euro 7 activities. So there is a phase out, but at the same time with concrete results that can hopefully lead to a much improved air quality in Europe in the near future. I know there are some follow-up calls in Horizon Europe, but they are being reduced and rather complementing and putting together in a larger scale already existing activities and knowledge. So the two, I mean, they show a phase out and a phase in of new activities.
Great. Thanks, Zissis. I think maybe we can not completely follow the order of the questions we identified and maybe jump to the question on the session you moderated yesterday on stakeholders' experiences of successful interaction and integration of research and innovation activities, as Philippe was just mentioning, the continuity of the different projects and the added value of partnership in monitoring the portfolio really of the different activities. What are your main highlights of that session?
Thank you, Lucie. And actually, it is exactly what I meant before. To me, at least, this was a very interesting session because it highlighted again the good results of collaborative projects. And I think there was a clear agreement by all three speakers that collaborative research is a key element at European level, and it helps all the players to get to know each other and maybe identify hidden gems or not well-known entities that they do have new things to offer. In addition to this general agreement, I would say there are also some interesting recommendations that we discussed at the end, and which I would like to summarize very fast here. The first, I think this research has to become even more agile and more fast. I think this is a request that comes from the industry very clearly. Agile in the sense that it has to have inherently the capability to adjust depending on the results and the needs as they develop. As you know, I mean, you put a target, you don't reach it, then you have to redefine the target, maybe by being more agile. That means split into smaller parts. I think this is the real way in order to be more adaptive. And speed, yes, speed. I believe that there are steps taken when one makes comparisons to FP7, for example, in Horizon Europe, and things become more speedy. The other interesting idea, which I think it was in the past, it came back, it always, I mean, we're running in circles, but I hope that the second circle is better than the first one, is in the innovation projects, because we're talking about research and innovation. If we focus on innovation, maybe those projects have to be a bit bigger than what they are today, bigger in size, which means in resources allocated to the projects, and as well as to include what we could call not a business plan, but maybe a plan for exploitation. So if we're talking about innovation, we have to take into account, as Horst said, money, in the end, what this will bring to the European actors. So overall, I think these are the main takeaways. I'm sure that the Commission very seriously takes all these into account, and probably in second rounds, things will adapt and respond to some of these needs. Thank you, Lucie.
Philippe, you also attended the session?
I certainly did. No, I think what was interesting for me was to get information from the perspective of the industry. And what was very clear from the intervention from the panelists was that it's all about collaborative research and collaboration. And that's really the main driver for the industry to participate in these kind of projects. And that echoes very well with what we do in research innovation in Europe, because we have only a few articles in the treaty regarding research. But in the first article that relates to research, we say why we do research, we support research, why we have a research program in the EU, and it's because of three simple objectives. The first one is actually collaborative research, and that's spelled out in the treaty. The second one is training and mobility of researchers, and the third one is international cooperation. That's basically the mandate that we have from the member states to develop our research innovation program. And the focus is on collaboration. And the fact that we integrate industry in our activities of research is really linked to that. And it echoes very well with all stakeholders in the research community, such as the one in transport. The second aspect, which I thought was interesting, again concerns the role and participation of industry. There was an intervention from the floor on whether or not it is more interesting for the industry to work at lower level of TRL, so more fundamental science research, or higher level of TRL. And I think, again, the answer was very clear. It's on both. It is interesting at low level of TRL when you are far from the market, needless to say. And I think it's very important for the academies, the research organizations to have industry participating in the projects because they bring a perspective that they would not normally have. And it's also important for the industry to work at a higher level of TRL when it comes to regulation and standards. And there is an added value for the industry to work together with their competitors because they can develop standards that they will all be able to take up. So that for me was an interesting aspect, something that we knew about, needless to say, but the fact that it came very clearly from the discussion was interesting.
Thank you very much. I want to echo the opening speeches we had 2 days ago now, particularly on the point of skills, which has been highlighted by Marguerite representing the CCAM partnership. This year is, as it has been mentioned, the EU Year of Skills. So what are the what are the upcoming activities that the Commission has prepared that could be of interest of people in this room?
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about the spreading of love, but that's not
we still have time.
So it's correct to raise that because this year, 2023, is the year of skills in the Union. Incidentally, did you know what was the year of last year? It was the year of youth. So I can see an acceleration between youth, skills. Maybe 2024 will be the year of retirement, but we'll be able
I would say employment before retirement, maybe.
Employment, very likely. So 2025 only for retirement, but Zissis and I will still be there to talk about it.
I don't think so, but...
we don't know. So skills, all skills, yeah, that's correct. So I think when it comes to skilling, reskilling, upskilling, it's a very important aspect because you may have seen in the media in the recent few months a number of statements that were made that basically the implementation of the Green Deal, the implementation of the Fit for 55 package would lead to a dramatic situation as regard jobs in the transport sector in particular. There were numbers that were announced in those statements that 600,000 jobs would be lost, would be destroyed, actually. That was the word that was used. And I think it's only part of the equation. It is true that there will be changes, but when you look, for instance, at the different scenarios that have been taken into account for preparing the sustainable and smart mobility strategy, you see that at the horizon of 2030, the gain is positive for the number of jobs and the increase of the workforce. And this is even more true in 2040. So there will be, admittedly, a number of jobs that will be lost because there is a mismatch presently between the skills of the workforce that is involved in the transport sector and the skills that will be needed in the years to come. So we need to address this mismatch. And that means offering reskilling and upskilling for the workforce so that they are fully equipped to work for this transition that we are putting in place with the Green Deal. There are already a number of initiatives that have been launched in the road transport sector, thanks to the contribution of the partnerships, I have to say. And for instance, when you look at what is being done in the battery sector with the Battery Academy, this is a very positive signal that has been already made for that sector. The fact that we need to develop new skills in the battery sector. There is, and that was mentioned in the opening, admittedly, a new initiative that will be launched in the context of the CCAM work program for addressing the needs for new skills in the connected and automated mobility sector. And then I would like to say there is an opportunity for all the partnerships to revamp or to increase that dimension on skills in their strategic research and innovation agendas. It is there to a large extent in most of the partnerships, but certainly more can be done, and we can provide support through the framework program to develop these activities. Now, we also have quite a lot of programs in Europe that can support the reskilling of this workforce. I mean, just to name a few, we have the Social European Fund, Plus, that actually is the fund for supporting citizens in developing new skills. It's a very large program. There is the Recovery and Resilience Fund that you have as well, which provides opportunities in member states for developing new skills. And also we have Erasmus and Erasmus+. People tend to think that the Erasmus program is only for students, but it's also for professional development, and also targeting the teachers and the professors that are in Europe that could develop new skills to train and teach the younger generation. So there are quite many opportunities that are available. I think for the transport sector, the partnerships have a big role to play, and they also have a big role to play because it's not only about providing training to the workforce, it's also developing new curricula. That means involving the academy and the national authorities. And as it happens, in the partnerships, you have representatives from the industry, you have representatives from the academic sector, the research organizations, and the member states through the state representative group. So the partnerships are actually a good arena to develop these new curricula, these new skills for the workforce working on the transport sector.
Thanks, Philippe. Skills are really in the spotlight of, I think, ongoing development from the Commission side, but the counterpart is also education activities. And we need to evolve in the themes that we are touching upon when educating future workers, right? To be able also to address the transition of decarbonization and digitalization. And one of the first that comes in mind is all activities that are related to data management and artificial intelligence. What are your thoughts about this, Zissis?
Thank you, Lucie. First of all, let me comment a little bit on skills. I visualize skills as part of education, actually, in a pyramid or in a triangle, if you want. The skill is at the top. You build upon a good education system, and then you end up with something that is immediately useful and can be usable in a profession, in the industry. And this part of the pyramid can change and maybe diverted to other directions, provided that the basis, the foundation, is solid, is good, is robust. So I believe that Europe shouldn't forget education as such, per se. I think Europe was always characterized by a very strong and very well-formed education system that was paying a lot of attention on the fundamentals. And the fundamentals, they have always to be there. And fundamentals are physics, are basic mathematics, above all, chemistry, and all the related sciences, including languages, I would say, including all these non-scientific necessarily disciplines that form really a very good, a very strong basis, as I said before. I think in addition to skills, education should not be forgotten. And if we are talking about engineers, the engineering education in Europe, largely based on the German example, I should say, of 5 years length, provides the necessary two blocks: the basic, the fundamental one, and the applied one. And yes, we need skills, yes, we need to reskill people, but all these have to be based on something which is really coming from many, many centuries back. So I wanted only to stress the fact how important education is, and how couldn't I, because I am from the educational system. The other topic that you just raised is artificial intelligence. And I think we were discussing definitely with some colleagues here. I entered into ChatGPT. I guess you all know that, or if you haven't heard of it, I think you have definitely to check it. And as you know, this is an artificial intelligence tool that you can do several things with. You can even write code, you can do, but the easier thing is to ask a question. And you can ask a question to many languages. English, of course, is the standard one. So I asked this question. And the question was, what can be the role of artificial intelligence in reskilling, in education, in everything we do? Of course, it isn't, I don't want to read you. I mean, I got a report, actually, yes. And this report is very logical. It could have been written by a person, actually, of very high intelligence. And if you're not satisfied by the answer, or you have other questions, you can regenerate the report, and then it restructures and produces new things, as if it was following what your thinking is. If you change the question a little bit. The thing is that introducing artificial intelligence into education, first of all, I think it's a very important first step. We are right now discussing how are we going to make exams. We have to isolate everybody. No computers, no phones, no smartwatches, anything. Because this way they can trick you. How do you ask reports? You ask a report. You ask, I mean, if you try to run an exercise here, it will give you an answer. It is correct answer. Mathematics, it's not something simple. So we have to think. It is threatening, but at the same time it's a new opportunity. It's a new opportunity maybe to build upon it, introduce it in a way I cannot imagine right now, honestly. And I don't know, I mean, there is people doing this. And of course, in addition, integrate it not only to education, but also to reskilling, since data management, big data, artificial intelligence is actually currently used. We were, after the yesterday's session, discussing about the fact that, and I just learned it, that artificial intelligence algorithms are not allowed to safety-critical interventions you do in cars. For example, software that is related with safety-critical topics is not allowed to be based on artificial intelligence.
Yet.
Sorry?
Yet. Not yet.
Yet.
Probably,
yes.
Right?
Yes. It should be somehow linked to a physical modeling. It should maybe fit. I don't know. I mean, we can discuss this for very long. But you're right. I think I'm arriving at the end. What I wanted really to underline is that two things. Education is very important. You should not be forgotten. Skills are based on education, in my view at least. And secondly, yes, with artificial intelligence, we are opening up new horizons, new possibilities, and of course, new challenges that need to be very thoroughly thought by the Commission at regulation level as well. And I stop here.
Thank you, Zissis.
Maybe we will try to draft a topic for the next work program with ChatGPT. And you will ask proposals with ChatGPT to prepare your proposals. And we will see whatever comes out of that.
Then we really need to make 2024 the year of employment, because a lot of people would be in trouble in this room, I think.
Good point.
Okay, if we want to continue echoing kind of the opening speeches that we have, I think we cannot avoid but speaking again about synergies.
The S word.
I think we have to, otherwise Rosalinde would be very upset to us. We have now a lot of ongoing activities in Horizon Europe. We have partnerships, we have the standard program, of course, we have missions. What are your recommendations, I would say, to make synergies from, I don't want to say a buzzword, but a word that we are constantly putting forward, to a reality in future activities we will undertake?
Yeah, I think you're probably going to think that we are completely crazy in the Commission. And we are a little bit schizophrenic as well, because we spend years developing programs and years later trying to break down the silo that we have created ourselves.
Exactly, yeah. I agree.
Expecting that
it's not only the Commission. It's not only the Commission that does that.
It's not only the Commission.
Yeah.
That's good to know. But to a large extent, this is what we are trying to do with these synergies, to break down the silos that we have between different programs and initiatives. And we have to do that because at the end of the day, these programs, these initiatives were designed with, they had a specific mandate, they address the needs of a specific community, and they are all very different in nature. Having said that, when it comes to research innovation, we need to interact with other programs and other measures because research innovation is only one of the components that we need to address if we want to change society and fulfill, for instance, the objective of the Green Deal. So the deployment, for instance, is something that is very important. So you need to develop interaction between those research innovation programs and the deployment programs. But we need also to develop these synergies within research innovation. And I think that's very clear in the road transport sector, because, for instance, when it comes to developing new vehicles, even in a systemic way, in taking into account the infrastructures, this is something that you can do within the context of a specific partnership, which could be 2.0, for instance. But also you will need necessarily to interact with the people that are developing the batteries. And now there is a well-developed coordination and cooperation between these two partnerships, the Bat4EU partnership and the 2.0 partnership in Horizon Europe, that is functioning very well. Also because the instruments are very similar, so it's easier to do that. It's a little bit more complicated to do it between different types of partnerships, but they will need to take place as well. And we have examples of this kind of synergies already. For instance, and that was mentioned also the opening of the conference, the fact that, for instance, there is explicit reference to the transport sector in the CHIPS JU in their new work program is a way of insisting on the fact that there is a link between what will be developed in the context of the CHIPS JU and what will need to be used or what will be used by the stakeholders involved in the road transport sector in particular. So this is something that we are promoting. Within Horizon Europe, we have very good examples of successful cooperation in the past between partnerships. I mentioned Batteries 2.0. We have also the one that was also much talked about inside the room and outside the room on this mobility in cities with the joint topic between the Cities Mission 2.0 and CICAM. And there is more to come, needless to say, and that is true to Horizon Europe. And there again, the partnerships have a role to play because they have to take advantage of the revision or the update of their strategic research innovation agenda to develop a little bit more this dimension of synergy with other programs. And of course, there is a need for synergy across programs, between programs like, for instance, the Horizon Europe program and SAFE for deployment that will take care of the deployment of the innovative solutions on infrastructures mainly, but not only. And what I want to avoid and what I would like to avoid is that we develop these synergies ex post. That means that the projects have been implemented already, and for some reasons we try to bring them together and try to develop some coherence afterwards, because usually when you do that, it doesn't work. So what we want to do is to do it ex ante. That means that when we are developing our program in Horizon Europe, we take into account already the deployment dimension. In some cases, it has been done in the past, where from the start, you were developing the research activities together with the deployment activities being supported by 2 different programs. And I think this is a good way forward, and we should investigate that for the road transport sector, because there is opportunity, genuine opportunity. We also have done it, and already now with the cities mission, where there are clear connections between what we do in CEF and what we do in Horizon Europe. We can do more still, but I think this is the road for successful implementation and deployment of solutions that we are developing in Horizon Europe. And to have this pipeline of projects designed from the start is the only way forward to make sure that we make good use of the investment that has been done in Horizon Europe or Horizon 2020 for the previous program. So good examples already, opportunities in the very near future, and the role of the partnerships in making sure that there are more explicit cooperation and synergies with other programs within Horizon Europe and outside Horizon Europe in the revision of the Strategic Research Innovation Agenda. That's it.
Thank you, Philippe. I think it's food for thought for all of us to plan in advance synergies and be proactive in exchanging with other programs so that we can really build a whole system that is integrating the different aspects. Before giving the floor to Zissis for the very last word, just to briefly come back on the update of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda of partnerships that you mentioned several times. There is also public consultation ongoing from the Commission side for the
one week left.
For the next strategic plan, exactly, for 1 week left. Do you want to briefly comment on this?
No, I think it's part of the review process that is taking place and the interim evaluation that will be taking place next year of Horizon Europe. There is an opportunity now for everyone. It's an open consultation that has been launched last year and that will close on the 23rd of February. That means next week. You have an opportunity to say what you think should be done in terms of research innovation, for instance. You can say a lot of positive things, a lot of negative things. It's an opportunity for you to provide your input, and then we'll take that into account to prepare the strategic plan that will cover the last 3 years of Horizon Europe. This is something that we will be doing together with the member states as part of the comitology of Horizon Europe. So there will be a number of interaction that will take place with the strategic configuration of the Program Committee of Horizon Europe starting in April, and that will go through the year of 2023, so that we can adopt the strategic plan 25-27 of Horizon Europe at the beginning of next year. In parallel, as you said, the strategic research innovation agendas of the partnerships are being updated. So I think it's an opportunity, this update, to focalize your attention on areas that need more specific investment and already prepare for the next program. I know that FP10 is far away on the horizon, but we should start already thinking about what could be done during this preparatory phase of FP10, which is the end of Horizon Europe, that could serve as a pilot or a demonstrator for further activities on research innovation in the next framework program that will be starting in 2028. So take the opportunity of this to present new initiatives that address the needs of the community, and that we could pilot into the work program 25, 26, or 27.
Point taken. Thank you very much, Philippe. Zissis, I give you the final word.
Thank you, Lucie. Thank you. I hope we're not too far away from the foreseen ending of the conference. First of all, I would like to thank Philippe FROISSARD for the very nice discussion that we just had. As well, of course, Lucie for moderating it. Let me remind you that, as we mentioned at the beginning of the first day, all the presentations will be made available online in the coming days, so please stay tuned. Also, I was reminded to remind you that a survey will also be sent around to gather your views on the event and on the overall conference, and to suggest potential improvements for the future versions of this conference. And we would like really to kindly urge you to respond to these questionnaires and to the survey. So I think we have come to the end, and with this I would like, first of all, to thank all the speakers and for the valuable contributions. Secondly, I would like, on behalf of all the organization here, to thank the supporting organizations, EGVIA 420, SICAM, and ERTRAC. All of them, the contribution, the support is highly appreciated. Equally important, I would like to also thank the European Commission for the support of this organization, continuous support actually. Hopefully that will be extended in the future. And in particular, I would like to mention the support and contributions of Guido, Michal, and Urbano into making this a very important event. I would also like to remind that there was a lot of effort from the moderators of the parallel session. And they came from DG RTD, from CINEA, as well as they were technical experts from ERTRAC, EGVIA 420, and SICAM. So I believe a warm thank you is also due to them. Last but not least, I would like to mention particular names. I would like to thank Angelica from FERL, Alexia from Polis. I would like to thank Xavier and all the others that they helped from ERTRAC office, from EGVIA to Zero, Bianca as the communication officer with all her efforts that were very well coordinated by the heart of the conference, actually, which is Lucie Beaumel. I mean, everybody knows that Lucie is here and will continue, hopefully, to be here, supporting and organizing this. Thank you, Lucie, very much for all your efforts. I think with this, I think we have completed this version, I mean, I see this word edition. I think it's not correct in English. Simon, how would you say this? Exactly, if you have a book, right? Otherwise? Thank you, then. Thank you, very good. Because I always thought that this is rather an Anglicized French. No? Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to thank you very much for your participation, your patience, your pertinence, and we really hope to see you next year around those in this, or maybe in Bourchette. I don't know, is it going to be ready? Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows, exactly. So thank you very much and have a nice trip back.